Well, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has rebutted what it describes as misleading and mischievous media reports surrounding the outcome of investigations into Ms Cecilia Dapa, the former Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources. The OSP expressed concern over claims by some media outlets that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, has either found no evidence of corruption or had court-cleared Ms Dapa following a joint probe. Some reports cited by the office half-yearly report as the basis for these claims, but the OSP has refuted these interpretations, describing them as a distortion of the findings laid out in its official report. Director of Strategy, Research and Communication Division of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Samuel Apiadako, said on the AM show earlier that the FBI cannot complete an investigation it started.
The reason why this matter has surfaced, and I am a bit surprised because you and I, those of you in the media, know that this is not the first time we've talked about Madame Dapa's case. So how suddenly the FBI becomes a clearing agent or OSP becomes a clearing agent, we are even at a loss. But the reason why this matter came up simply is because we have to brief the public on what we have done within the 6 months and 7 months. And then we had to tell the people that this case that we had to shelve has now been reopened because the new leadership of IOCO have requested for the docket, and we have sent same to them. So we were only reporting to Ghanaians that the docket has gone back to IOCO for further investigations. So how the facts that we have always narrated in the past 2 years suddenly jumps out as a new fact, and where some media houses try to twist it to make it look like, some people even believe that the FBI in US were the one that had issued a statement clearing Madame Dapa.
I don't believe it.
It was all over the place. And I'm saying that you have saw something from us. And we are telling you that what you have saw is inaccurate because it's a whole paragraph. You can't take one part and leave the other. Other than that, you want your clickbait, we understand, but there are several ways to still gain traction on the internet.
Okay.
Just by being accurate.
Well, according to Mr. Dako, Cecilia Dapa's docket is currently being examined by IOCO for further action.
I think that usually these are not matters the office would respond to ordinarily.
Okay.
I mean, there have been so many times the media get it wrong on the OSP. Sometimes we're able to call in, correct it. Sometimes we don't have the opportunity. We let it go and all that. But we are dealing with an international partner here. You see a media house, right? FBI clears Cecilia Dapa. How on earth can the FBI clear a Ghanaian politician in Ghana? It's grossly inaccurate because the FBI does not clear people in Ghana. The FBI doesn't have even jurisdiction in Ghana to clear someone. But the problem is this. They took it from a document we have published. And we are simply trying to say that when you want to take information, present it as a whole in a manner that will do justice to the facts.
President John Mahama has announced that government is reviewing the Ghana Investment Promotion Center Act, Act 865, which is currently requiring foreign investors to meet a minimum capital threshold of $200,000 and a maximum of $1 million before setting up in the country. While speaking to Japanese business owners, the president said the amendment will remove this barrier, allowing investors to bring in less amounts to establish and expand their businesses in Ghana.
For business, and Simon and Co are busy at work reviewing the Ghana Investment Promotion Center Act. Some barriers were put to foreign investment. You had to prove that you had brought in a certain amount of money to be classified as a foreign investor. In the reviewed Ghana Investment Promotion Center Act, we're removing those minimal capital investments. This will enable any investor, however little money you have, $100,000, $50,000, to be able to come in and set up a business in Ghana. Again, we have a track record for hosting Japanese companies. And as you saw from the list there by Madam Jetro, Executive Vice President, the number of Japanese companies that are operating in Ghana is significant, and we're expecting that should expand. From Simon's presentation, he told you about $152 million has been invested over the last few decades. We believe that there is growth room for improvement and expanded investment from Japan. We're moving just not only from overseas development assistance, but we're moving to trade and investment. And the private sector will be that engine of growth. And so trade between our two countries grew by over 24% from 2020 to 2024. That is quite a significant jump.
Well, President John Mahama also highlighted Ghana's economic recovery and renewed investment appeal, touting the cedi's stability, a sovereign ratings upgrade, and, new reforms to ease entry for foreign investors.
Ghana is a country through which the meridian and the equator intersect. The two intersect in Ghana's territory, just a few kilometers off our shore. And it's also the host country for the African Continental Free Trade Area. You all have heard the landmark protocol that was signed by African countries. So far, almost 50 African countries have signed that allow us to export duty-free, tariff-free into each other's markets. Increasing numbers of products are being registered. And once you register your product and it meets all the standards, you can export duty-free and tariff-free into each other's markets. And as you were told, the sub-regional market, which is West Africa, is 400 million people. Ghana is 33 million people. And the continental market is 1.4 billion people. And so with the vehicle of the African Continental Free Trade Area, you potentially can export into 1.4 billion market. Simon said it, we are re-establishing macro stability and growth momentum of the economy. Inflation rose to a high of almost 23% in 2024 and is currently down to 13.7%. And we expect that by the end of the year to hit single digit. And it's also, our cedi has stabilized. For those of you who know the history of the Ghanaian cedi, it's been one of the most volatile currencies in Africa. And a few years back, we were said to be the worst performing currency. I'm happy to announce that this year, Ghana cedi has been the best performing currency in the world. And as Simon said, we've been upgraded from junk status to B- with a stable outlook. And I'm certain that in the next review, we're going to be upgraded again.
Well, Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chuma, joins us on this conversation. We're grateful for you on our desk this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Yes, you heard the President John Mahama making those statements in Japan. I mean, also scrapping this capital requirement that enables foreigners to set up businesses in the country. What do you make of this, move the government is trying to make? Does it take away that protective cover for industries in this country?
Well, I think first of all, I must acknowledge the fact that effort to invest into the country is the best you can do. We have countries lobbying and campaigning for investment into their countries. So Ghana should do the same. And we commend the president himself for doing this. When you have His Excellency the President standing in front of business people and encouraging them to invest in your country, there can be nothing more assuring that it's in order. But I think what the president said was that the reforms going on with our investment act and those reforms would take account of some of these proposals that have come to the table. Yeah, he mentioned that there could be a removal of this, but I believe that as we go into the details of the reforms, the amendments that is being introduced, we'll be able to interrogate it properly. The idea of minimum capital requirements, I believe, was fixed there for a reason, because you want to bring investors and you want to attract investors of a certain kind and a certain size to make an impact. So for very serious businesses and serious investors, I'm not sure they will even like to invest $50,000, $100,000, those small investments. Otherwise, it's really worth their investment. And it's not your idea to encourage investors to go into petty business, petty trading, do barbering shop, do basic things that does not require so much capital. I think the indigenes are good enough to do it. Bear in mind that when it comes to investment also, there is always two sides to it. There's the aspect that has to do with the partnerships, joint ventureship between the foreign investor and the Ghanaian. For those ones, you want to relax it as much as possible and then make sure that you have the Ghanaian equity in it. And if you raise it too high, then the Ghanaian, if he's unable to come up with a certain level of equity, he doesn't have majority shares. So it makes sense to reduce the minimum capital requirements to the barest possible minimum so that the Ghanaian contribution will be substantial enough to have reasonable equity and have a say in the business. So I think for that reason, sometimes looking at the minimum capital requirements, it's important. Well, but then if you want foreign direct investment for a wholly foreign-owned business, in that case, you want to have some minimum capital requirements so that you attract people within a certain echelon of the business to come into the country.
Well, from your submission so far, you disagree that the capital requirement should be scrapped entirely. I mean, if I understand where you're coming from.
I believe it's something worth discussing. It should be scrapped. It shouldn't be scrapped, or it should be scrapped entirely. The dynamics are straightforward, and that's what I've tried to explain. There must be reasoning behind every action. And if you are talking of joint ventureship, where you are bringing Ghanaian equity into it, in that case, even if you decide to scrap it, then the Ghanaian equity will be quite substantial. Then it becomes necessary. But then if it is wholly foreign owned, then I think some minimum capital requirements may be necessary. So I think what I'm trying to say is that let's discuss the details, let's discuss the dynamics before we make a firm decision on this.
But looking at where the president is coming from, at the moment, do you believe that we still need foreign investors? And some investors have said that the requirement is too high. In your view, what would be an appropriate amount that should be taxed or, taken from them before them setting up?
So that's where the dynamics come in. There are certain sectors that is more intellectual than actual fiscal investment. If you go into the ICT sector, for example, sometimes you will not require so much resources or money to invest, but then it's special expertise that you need. In that case, you don't need a minimum capital requirement. You can have an investor who can come in with a special expertise and help you to propel that sector to another level. So it is very important that we put it in context. If it is that's why those definitions should come in. So that if it's sectors that are critical to us and we don't have expertise, or the nature of it doesn't require so much capital investment to make it a commercially viable business, then you encourage it. But there are certain sectors that you cannot discount the importance of a certain minimum. If you want to go into mining, for example, and you reduce it to the barest minimum or you scrap it, then you eventually say you can also come and do, say, galamsey. But you want mining companies that have certain capacity to do a large-scale mining. In that case, there must be some minimum capital requirements. And that's why I'm saying that let's look at the dynamics as a whole. We have to delve into the details. Aspects that may be relevant for a certain minimum capital, then we define it as such. So I have a difficulty giving a specific figure at this stage.
But Mr. Akpabua, the president was emphatic. He says removal of capital requirements. So in his mind, we are removing it. We're making it a level playing field for investors to come in.
That's what I'm saying, that he also note that he said it in context. He said reforms to Ghana Investment Promotion Center Act. So when we are doing reforms, that is a proposal that may have come to the table.
Which includes removal.
Well, is it removal for all sectors? Is it removal for all kinds of businesses? Is it removal for everything? And are there other clauses? Maybe sometimes you say you remove capital requirement, but you have other clauses that makes you get the right kind of investors. Those ones were not mentioned. So we need to really sit down and discuss this in detail and see the other aspects of the investment requirements that ensures that at the end of the day, the interest of Ghana, the interest of the investor, and the society as a whole is taken into account.
But
so those dynamics are very important. Did
you have any hint of this, or this is the very first time you're hearing of the president saying this? I mean, knowing that the AGI is a very key, stakeholder in the business environment here in Ghana.
Oh, I know there are discussions concerning reforms to the investment code. As a matter of fact, even in the previous government regime, AGI made some submissions because there were a lot of discussions. At some point, it was even supposed to go to Parliament for further discussions and all that. And we were invited to give some inputs into it. So it's not the first time we are hearing of reforms to the investment code. But the specific details, I think that we are here to discuss some of these proposals that are coming up.
You mind telling us some of them, at least to have an idea of what you are going to discuss?
Companies, and as you saw from the list there by Madam.
Well, we discuss to ensure that the Ghanaian interest is taken account of. How do you ensure that we get the right investors who put in the right resources so that in the end they get the returns on their investment, but it also helps the country? Are there specific areas that could, for example, be earmarked exclusively for Ghanaians that foreign investors cannot come in? All these were discussed. So it's a lot more discussions and a lot of issues, which I believe at the appropriate time we can go into the details.
Chuma Kwaba, he's CEO of the Association of Ghana Industries. Moving on, the theoretical aspect of 2025 West Africa Senior Certificate Examination has begun with oral English. The West African Examinations Council says it has so far received enough funds from government for the examination. More than 400,000 candidates are sitting this year's exams. Let's get updates from our guys on the ground. We start with Albert Sori, who is reporting to us from Boko, especially, which is also a conflict area. Albert, what can you report?
Yes, Mami, if you recall, just before the WASAI started, there was this incident where a student was killed on one of the campuses of the senior high schools in Boko. That sent the children home for some 1 week before they were called back to campus to prepare for the exam. They were eventually called back and security measures were put in place. For the students who were outside of Boko, they were asked to come into town. Those within town were also escorted, police and other. Now they've stationed men in the campuses of the various senior high schools protect students as they write the exam. They started rallying. Today they are writing this oral paper. And my checks show that everything has come, the students being given security. More than 1,500 students from the various senior high schools are writing the exam, and measures have been put in place on campus and also outside for the few students who are coming home to campus every day for the exam. And so these are the measures that are put in place as far as Boko is concerned.
Well, I believe we've had the opportunity to at least gauge the atmosphere, the mood in the examination center. How do you think the students are faring? Do they look relaxed composed, or there's some agitation while writing the exam?
Everything has been calm. The students are doing well. They were actually looking forward to this. In fact, we spoke to some of them on the day they were asked to return back to campus from their various homes, and they said that looking at the security measures that were put in place, they were okay about the arrangement. And today as well, everything has been okay. They were all in a good mood and getting ready for the exam. We are waiting for the orals to be over, and then we can find out how it all went. But their mood, was very hopeful, and they were looking forward to writing the paper today.
All right. Thank you so much, Albert. Sorry for that update from Boko. Well, Stephen is here in Accra and also joins us with updates. Stephen, where have you been? What can you report? Unmute and speak to us, Stephen. So we know that the WASAI is ongoing. Let's speak now to WAEC's John Kapi, he's head of public affairs at West African Examination Council. Mr. Kapi, we're grateful for your time on our desk. So far, what has been your observation of how the exam is progressing?
Thanks for having me. So far, we have not recorded any negative reports from any of the centers. So for us, we think that everything is going on smoothly, at least within this period that we have started the exam. Right.
We're very concerned or, mindful, especially of the, conflict areas in Kwanta, Nalerugo, Boko, even Wale where there's, reported incidents in the past. What is the situation there?
Well, our monitors who are working in those areas have indicated that the security arrangements that were announced earlier are in place. There's calm everywhere. Candidates are able to move in and out of the examination halls as and when there's a need for them to do so. So as we speak, we've not recorded anything that would call for any urgent action. So we believe that, and we pray that it continues this way so that everybody's able to write the exam in an atmosphere that is acceptable.
Well, you've also put in place measures to ensure strict adherence to the rules of these exams, especially the invigilators as well as students. This time around, what are some of these key measures you've done, and have they been rolled out already?
Yes, we have some personnel already in the field. Others will join them at the beginning of next week. On the part of the invigilators and the supervisors, there has been some, understanding and agreement between them and the council as to what is expected of them as they go about, working or invigilating and supervising the examination. As far as personnel are concerned, our own trained personnel are already out there. We are receiving some reports from them. Others will join them in the course of the week, next week, and then we believe that their presence in all these areas would ensure that sanity prevails and everybody writes the exam based on merit and not on cheating.
All right. Thank you so much, John Kapi. He's head of public affairs at WAEC. Well, let's go back to the field and get what's happening. Let's speak to Nana Boache. He's reporting to us in Kumasi. Nana, what can you report?
We are live at the Kumasi Anglican SHS WASAI Center, where the students are currently writing their English orals, and you can see that most of the students or all of the students are seated for their English oral examination. This center has two areas, or two centers, I must put it, where the students are writing their examination. Oral English is what they are writing this morning, and students of the Kumasi Anglican Senior High School are seated as WASAI begins today. The paper started not so long ago. Some few minutes past 9 is when the paper started, and you can see in your shot the students seated as they write their oral English. I have with me the assistant headmaster academics for the Kumasi Anglican Senior High School. Sir, thank you for joining us this morning. Your students are seated writing oral English. Can you tell us how many students are writing the exams this morning?
There are 1,162, making up of 431 females, 731 males.
So we have 431 females and then
31 males.
Okay. And the first paper they are writing oral English. Oh, that's right.
No. They wrote the first paper on Monday. That is picture making.
I mean the first paper for today.
For today, yeah. Today they have written. We are running 2 sets. They started the first set at 8:30. We are done with that. Now they are in the second set.
So what was the first set?
8:30. We started and they are done. So because all of them will not be able to be accommodated at the same time.
So what I mean is that for the first and second set, all of it was oral English today.
Oral English, yes.
And we have more than 1,000 students at CAS seated for the paper. And run us through how the exam would be conducted, especially for Kumasi Anglican.
How the exam will be conducted.
I mean, the papers they'll be writing and everything, preparations for it all.
Yeah, every morning we have morning papers and afternoon papers. So if it is in the morning, we go to IEC for the papers. By 8 o'clock we should be there because morning papers start at 8:30. So we'll bring the papers, open it, share them, then we'll follow the exam rules. Exam commences.
Can you tell us briefly about maybe the details we have on the number of students who are generally writing in the Ashanti region?
For Ashanti, I can't tell. For Ashanti, I can't tell. But CAS, because I'm in charge of Anglican Senior High School, but Ashanti, I don't have. In fact, the regional office may have the figure out here, but in my case, I don't have that figure.
Have we had any surprises or any shocks since the paper started?
Oh, no, because it has just started. We wrote the first paper on Monday, and this is the second paper. And this is the very one all students are writing. So we've not encountered any eventuality yet.
Thank you very much. Your name, please.
I'm Samson Kofi.
And that is the Assistant Headmaster Academics for the Kumasi Anglican Senior High School, running us through the WASAI that got started on Monday. This morning they started with the first session of students seated for oral English, and the second session or the second set are seated for oral English, just as you saw earlier in your shots. And this is the Kumasi Anglican Senior High School Center, where they have 2 sets, and that first set done, second set going on or continuing with oral English. He gave us a rundown of more than 1,000 students alone.
And you had then Nana Boache giving us updates from Kumasi on the WASAI. Well, in other stories, Health Minister Kwabena Kando has revealed that more than 70,000 trained health workers remain unemployed in Ghana. While government continues to train healthcare professionals, the absorption into the system has been hampered by funding gaps. Speaking on the polls, Kwabena Kando explained the government is partnering 13 countries through bilateral arrangements to manage the migration of healthcare professionals.
We have not less than 70,000 health professionals at home.
Sitting at home, 70,000?
70,000. Doctors, allied health scientists.
Including doctors?
Yes. I mean, allied health scientists, and then nurses and all that. So we have a challenge. We are deducing 2 main approaches. One, we're looking at how Ghana government will continue to employ them every year.
Right.
To absorb them in order for us to have our optimal health workforce. So we came to meet a recruitment of not less than 11 to 12,000 just immediately after the elections. So you remember
those that needed to be recruited?
Yes, that was the 2020 batch.
2020 batch, okay.
So you remember the directive of, sacking all those workers who were recruited after 7 December.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
I remember.
That was not applicable in the health sector.
Yes.
So we had to
allow them to stay.
Exactly. We had to allow them to stay to make sure that they are all captured. So it's a huge, it has huge financial implications, a huge burden on the public purse, a huge financial implication. So we are looking at that one. So in the 2026 budget, we are looking at government giving us some what we call clearance to be able to recruit more. and we'll spread it across the pharmacists, the nurses, so that every cadre will be able to get that kind of equitable distribution of the recruitment. So that's that one coming from the government employment. We are also looking at what we call managed migration. So
that's what exactly?
Ghana government is going to engage other countries
to export
health professionals. So about 13 countries have responded, and we are now agreeing on our MOUs with them. But there's a challenge.
Tell me about it.
The challenge is that if you look at the requests from the various countries, and even our own countries, the request is high when it comes to specialists.
They want more specialists.
They want more
than just general
ordinary nurses, general nurses. And so we cannot decide to give them all our specialists and then what happens to us. So what we are doing at the moment is that whilst we are engaging them, we are looking at how we can bring up a lot of specialists. So instead of probably taking you about 2 years to become a specialist, we're engaging the institutions to come out with a crash program, not more than 6 months. It does not mean that we are going to compromise on the quality, but it's going to be very intensive. So for example, if you are going to do, let's say 2 contact hours a day, we are going to look at 4 or 5.
Right.
So that we'll use that approach to solve a particular system, to solve a particular problem. So that if, for example, if you run it for about 2 or 3 times and we think that the problem has been solved, we can resort back to the normal status quo.
Right.
Let's do climate focus next. Farmers in Ghana are turning the corner on tradition, moving away from diesel-powered threshers to a cleaner, smarter, and more sustainable alternative. The solar-powered thresher developed by e-Powers in collaboration with Redial is designed to cut emissions, lower cost, and ease the workload of cereal farmers. Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Powered thresher has replaced the diesel-run model, utilizing clean energy to thresh crops while promoting sustainable, climate-friendly, renewable energy use and reducing operational cost. It aims to facilitate the transition from fossil fuels to cleaner energy sources for threshing and alleviate the labor-intensive task associated with diesel-powered threshers. This innovation will help farmers more efficiently prepare their produce for market. Aramani Tewia from e-Powers Construction explains how the solar energy is captured and stored for use.
This system has been built intelligently in order to cut when there is an overvoltage, undervoltage, and also other faults that the system is able to detect.
The system will last between 20 and 30 years of usage.
This system is built to last for about 6 hours every day. That can be able to help these farmers in order to thresh their maize, their millet, their sorghum, and other cereals they currently farm over here. These batteries is also, as I stated, helping them in order to actually save them power so that during the night and cloudy condition, they can be able to use it.
The solar-powered thresher will be managed by the Post-Redial Management Committee to ensure that beneficiaries of the project continue to benefit from the gains of the project. The Redial Monitoring and Evaluation Officer, Faustina Power, says the introduction of the solar system is part of the collective efforts of sustainable agriculture and climate action.
The Redial project introducing the thresher is aimed at contributing to lower emissions. As we are all aware, emissions is on the rise, and one of the key contributors is fossil fuel. And so our existing thresher, although it's delivering the results we want it to deliver, uses fossil fuel, which is a contributor to climate emissions. And so the introduction of the solar is to harness the benefits of green energy, which would ensure that the production and the threshing services are done without emissions.
Solar-powered thresher represents a major step forward in the fight against climate change to promote cleaner energy and sustainable farming practices that will benefit farmers and the environment for generations to come. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Climate Focus is brought to you by JoyNews in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
Education Minister Haruna Idrisu is advocating for a scholarship and bursaries authority which would focus on providing financial support for brilliant but financially needy students seeking higher education. Ahead of the inauguration of the Governing Council of 7 colleges of education in Sunyani, Mr. Idrisu reiterated that while the no-fees trust policy remains the most impactful education initiative by government, so far, implementing a legal framework for scholarships would further eliminate corrupt practices in the award of scholarships. Precious Semaphore reports.
The Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, has inaugurated the governing councils of 7 colleges of education in Sunyani in the Bunu region, including Bagabaga College, Makoy College, Nusat Johan Ahmadiyya College, Tamale College, Atebubu College, EP College Bimbila, and the Gambaga College of Education, encouraging them to focus on STEM. He also announced the government's decision to absorb 3 more colleges of education, Savannah College of Education at Damongo, Ghana Muslim Mission College at Biposo, and Christ the Teacher College at Nsoko. He acknowledged the challenges confronting the teacher training institutions but said stored infrastructure contracts will be re-awarded.
I'm aware that in 2023, the government through the Ministry of Education initiated some processes for the building of 45 hostels across the 46 colleges of education. I'm told that only 9 have progressed to levels that you can say they are near completion. I seem to have an understanding, just as you do, why contractors have abandoned site. Accordingly, I've requested that all those contracts be terminated and be re-awarded so that it will reflect the real value.
Haruna Idrisu also advocated for a single institution for scholarships and bursaries with a focus on brilliant but needy students. He believes such an institution would eliminate corrupt practices in the scholarship awards.
I've also discussed with higher authority that probably along the line we would have to have a scholarship and bursaries authority institution in Ghana so that it focuses on bursaries, which will deal with the no-fee stress, and then also focus on scholarship. But we have to marry the 2 institutions. But because we've never had a legal framework governing scholarship, the corruption, nepotism in the award of scholarship is real in Ghana, and we should stop pretending about it and use the legal framework in order to be able to correct it.
Precious Semaphore, JoyNews, Sunyani.
Ghana's waste crisis persists, not for lack of effort, but for lack of political will and investment, with infrastructure lagging and financing unsustainable. The International Solid Waste Association's maiden conference in Accra rallied stakeholders to demand urgent innovative action. Elsie Texan reports.
Speaking at the International Solid Waste Association ISWA Maiden Conference, the president of Solid Waste Association of Ghana, SWAG, Ms Cecilia, commended the efforts of private waste management organizations, but stressed the need for government to step up in infrastructural financing and sustainable waste solutions that go beyond rhetoric.
We are also having challenge with waste financing. There are a lot of issues with waste generation. And if we can tackle waste generation, we need waste infrastructure. And the waste infrastructure also requires that we are committed with capital.
On her part, the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority, Professor Nanama Brown Kluche, highlighted steps being taken to curb plastic use in Ghana. She assured Ghanaians that the battle against plastic is in phases and it is a battle that will be won.
We have the laws, we have the guidelines to even go ahead with the ban. But we also understand that we are dealing with Ghanaians, we are dealing with people with businesses, we are dealing with people who have a culture of using rubbers. We want to start slow, as I've always irritated. We ban in phases. So different types of plastics that we have, we want to first concentrate on the ones that gives us most waste.
According to the chair of ISWA's technical committee, Deji Fawule, the era of endless paperwork and lip service is over. He called on all stakeholders to stop hiding behind politics and join forces with ISWA to drive bold, sustainable solutions that Ghana desperately needs.
So what this conference is aiming to do is to bring people together from all sectors, from all walks of life. Let's talk. Let's collaborate. Let's find solutions. Let's discuss what are the problems. Let's discuss who has a solution. How can we implement? How can we move forward? If it's financing, technology, operations, let's talk about it and let's go in the right direction so that next year or 2 years we come back here, there are success stories to be told.
Well, let's head to Parliament now, where the Public Accounts Committee has suspended sitting for about 30 minutes, and our correspondent, James Aveji, is there for us. James, what can you report? James, if you can hear me, we're asking what you can report. At least we understand sitting has been suspended.
Has just come to a halt and to a break for some 30 minutes. Reason being that one of the entities has not shown up, and the committee, especially the leadership, is curious about that.
We started the morning with the Defense Ministry, where personnel have appeared before the committee and have been answering questions on some breaches in the Auditor General's report. I must say that the ministry have been cited to violate, for some instances in the Auditor General's report, and have been referred to the Attorney General for action. Now, after the Defense Ministry, the Office of Government Machinery was expected to take their seat to also answer some infractions in the Auditor General's report. The chairperson of the committee, Honorable Abna Osei Asari, invited them only for us to be told that no one is in to represent the Office of Government Machinery, especially the leadership. The explanation that's been offered by a member of the team is that the chief director of the Office of Government Machinery was scheduled to come here, but there was a mishap as to whether or not he was supposed to come or the deputy chief of staff was expected to represent the Office of Government Machinery. I have here joining me the vice chairman of the committee, Honorable Opoku. Thank you for your time. Yourself and the chairperson have been livid about the explanations given. Why?
Well, rightly so. I mean, we have a constitutional mandate. Parliament, as a body, is mandated by the Constitution to, as it were, scrutinize or to have that oversight responsibility. Now, the work of the Auditor General is not finished when they publish the report. They are supposed to bring it to Parliament for us to sit with the agencies involved and find out why these things happen. I mean, we expect that our operations or the activities that we undertake here are taken seriously by state agencies. At best, the minister who is responsible for any agency that is invited by the Public Accounts Committee should be present. If you are unable to make it, then you need to give us a written response and probably maybe send your deputy minister to come with the agencies involved, including the chief director. And it looks like people want to take advantage of a certain period that we are in just to, for want of word, disrespect or to sidestep that powers that have been given to the committee.
What has been the convention as far as the government machinery is concerned? Who heads the team to appear before the Public Accounts Committee?
Well, I have been a member of this committee at least in the last 5 years, and I know that in times past, Deputy Chief of Staffs usually come with the Office of the Government Machinery to answer questions that pertains to their ministry. If you look at the infractions and the agencies that are coming, I mean, in the ISWA government, they were under the Ministry of Special Development, so they would come with the minister responsible for that. Issues that borders on government machinery are usually led by the Deputy Chief of Staff. So I remember Adukwe Bossman, who was the Deputy Chief of Staff in the Akufo-Addo government, would lead the delegation to Parliament because, I mean, that ought to be the case. And so I'm surprised that the Chief Director, yes, we really and truly respect the Chief Directors, but we feel that decisions that has to be taken are very political. I mean, if there ought to be an amendment of the law, if there's a need to plug some loopholes in the act that establishes these agencies, it is usually led by the political appointees. And that is why we would want chief executives, that is why we would want ministers, that is why we want deputy ministers to lead the delegation, so that it is not just about looking at what you did with the money or what you did not do with the money and why you sidestepped the law and all of that. But our mandate is to also recommend to the plenary ways that we can amend the existing laws and ensure that the infractions that happen do not happen in future.
You have adjourned briefly for 30 minutes to allow either the Chief Director or the Chief of Staff to appear before. If after the 30 minutes none of them shows up, what's next? What will be the decision of the committee?
Well, we are not happy, as we earlier on suggested, and we are hoping that they come. We have gotten the indication that they are on their way. At least the Chief Director is on his way. Today we are going to pardon. We would accept the Chief Director. But in future, we expect the political heads, persons who have been given that power by the President, persons who the Constitution hold responsible for their actions, to appear before the committee. I think that has to happen. And we'll be engaging the Office of the President.
Which means no exact punitive measure against the two.
Well, I think these are early days yet. We know what we have gone through as a country in the last 2 weeks. So I'm sure people are now, settling in and all of that. So there's no need for any punitive measure. But just to say that this is Parliament. It's a committee of Parliament assumes that role. It's an entire plenary. This is a Parliament in itself. So please, let's take this thing serious and ensure that the Ghanaian people who have entrusted us with their mandate also sees that we are here to protect their purse, and also they are there to spend wisely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's the Vice Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, and he is Davis Opoku Mensah speaking to us. They are clearly not happy, but we are waiting for the 30 minutes adjournment to elapse to see either the Chief Director or the Deputy Chief of Staff would come in here to answer questions on the infractions captured under the government machinery. And so that's what is happening here in Parliament, Mamiesi.
So much, James, have you given us updates from the public accounts setting, and you had the Vice Chair, Dennis Opoku, telling us that head of government machinery failed to appear before them and suspending sitting for 30 minutes. Well, you're still watching JoyNews Desk. We'll take a break. We'll return with business.
Now time for business here on News Desk. My name is Winston Taki, and our 12th business story. Government has released some 9.7 billion cedis as coupon payment for restructured domestic bonds. The Ministry of Finance last night in a press release confirmed this transaction. There was more in this report.
Finance Ministry in a statement did confirm that the payment was made today. The ministry also revealed that this brings the total amount paid by government for the restructured domestic debt action bonds this year at 19.4 billion cedis. It also maintained that the payment again confirms the government's commitment to honoring the terms outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding signed under the Debt Action Program, as well as aid investor confidence and government's fiscal credibility. The Finance Ministry argued that to ensure that future payment does not suffer, as announced in the media budget, two separate sinking funds have been established. That is a cedi sinking fund and dollar sinking fund. These funds will provide liquidity buffers to aid timely payment of maturing papers and other payment obligations from next year to 2028.
That's all for business. Over to you, Mamiesi.
Well, Winston, thank you very much. But that's how we wrap up this morning's edition of JoyNews Desk. We're back tomorrow. Have a good day.